All right, welcome back to Cosmic Disclosure. I'm your host, David Wilcock, and I'm here with Corey Good. Now, some of what we're going to cover in this show has been covered before, but here's the key. We're talking about something that is very real. The real reason why we're doing this show is not entertainment, it is disclosure. And by talking about these things and exploring them in more detail, we are helping to crack the lid on something that's actually a very serious problem. And so for that same reason, in a topic like this, we need as much information about it as we possibly can get. And the more information we have, the more powerful our tools become to be able to stop these horrible things from happening.
It's very strange that this has been going on, that the same structure of a medieval country, kings, queens, princesses, all of the top people, agreed with maybe France's or Spain's group, and they became the elite. They became the control of the population in their countries, and were never allowing the people a real life, never allowing them to participate in many of the upper things, and many of them were actually slaves. So the big slavery business out there is a big business. It's a major business today, a massive business. Anything that you want to manufacture, anything that you want to farm, anything that you want to build, it's all done with slave people. And in Germany, Germany had massive underground facilities that were all slaves. And even to the extent that when the decision was made before the war ended, that they were going to continue all of their extraterrestrial developments on UFOs and on every weapon system that they were building, they took the production facilities to Antarctica, but they also brought the slaves with them. So now they're slaves underneath the ground, and they still are today in Antarctica. But slave business out there is a big business. And this is happening today. It's not something that happened 100 years ago. This has been going on a long time. And that needs to be fixed. And there's all kinds of slavery. There's sexual slavery, unbelievably. There's many different classes of people that are abducted for slavery, sexual slavery. They want the tops and the smartest, and because they're worth more. They have, I think, 4 or 5 different levels of people that they abduct. They abduct top medical research people. They abduct the corporate levels, and they abduct the most brilliant levels, and then they go down through 3 levels, and that says where they get sectioned off. Everybody gets to 2 planets, and then it's decided where they're going to be sent to. And but it's a massive business. It's been going on for years, and we can't identify where these people have gone. And just like normal abductions, we don't know where they went. But it's because most of them don't come back. We're only hearing from the few that came back.
Whew. So as we can see there, this is some pretty intense stuff. We have quite an interesting perspective on this because, of course, if you've been watching our show, Corey has had experience with this himself. He also discussed it when he was on with George Norrie. So, Corey, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, let's just start off by saying, I know that you're very uncomfortable about this topic. Why is this so upsetting to you, this topic?
Because I saw it firsthand. And it's a very upsetting topic. if it sounds like fiction, it's upsetting enough. But when you hear someone else corroborating what you had been through, what you had experienced, it brings a lot of anxiety, a lot of memories come back.
Well, let's start to talk a little bit about what Tompkins had to say in the video footage. First of all, he seemed to be talking about traditional cabal countries, France, Spain, England, and slave trades that they had back going for generations. So there was a little bit of a Illuminati thing there, because he was mentioning royal families that all got together and were secretly collaborating, even though their countries appear to be fighting with each other. So did you ever get to hear about that kind of stuff, the Game of Thrones sort of politics of the occult elite?
Yeah, we were very curious where these people were coming from, how they were acquiring them. And it turned out that they were using this multi-generational infrastructure for slavery that they had built just for here on Earth.
Really?
Yes, and it had never stopped. Slavery, the human slave trade on Earth has never even slowed down, really.
So just to make sure that I understand what you're saying, the exact same systems and the management structures and the coordination of how these cabal or Illuminati countries were doing it back going hundreds of years, it just continued directly through to this galactic slave trade involving extraterrestrials.
Yes, to present time.
I know I've asked you this before, but for the purposes of clarity for today, how long have extraterrestrials been grabbing slaves off of our planet?
As long as we've been on this planet.
Did they have the collaboration with this slavery mechanism from the cabal countries in the past?
I know it's gone back some time, but I don't know how far back, how far it goes back that the Illuminati groups, if you want to call them that, were using the people in the field that go scouting for people to kidnap, give them a list of what you're looking for. Those people do the kidnapping, bring the people that they had abducted to a central location where they are basically treated like cattle, sent down go to different directions. You know, this person, they'll go off planet. This person, they'll go into the underground sex slave trade.
Tompkins mentioned that there were different types of delineations of who is picked and for what purpose. He mentioned farming. Could we start with that? Talk about what type of farming would these people be doing if they were being brought for that purpose?
Well, they will raise food for people. I mean, for people in the program. Kind of like hydroponic kind of setups on other bodies on this planet, in this solar system, where they grow food. And they do have people, they'll get people that do construction. They'll go and they'll take these people and then take them off planet and force them to do these things.
How would they prevent these people from trying to put poison into the food supply or doing something to sabotage the operation? If you're a slave, you're not going to be happy about it.
No, but the way they treat these slaves, you have no hope of ever seeing home again. They treat them just well enough to where they want to survive, they want to stay alive, but bad enough to where they will follow any order.
Tompkins also mentioned manufacturing jobs. Could we talk about that a little bit? What type of jobs might they have?
Sure. I'm sure everyone remembers me discussing the manufacturing plants on Mars, to where they would have tens to hundreds of thousands of people living close by these manufacturing plants, to where they were being sent in trains to these plants to work. And this is going on other bodies in our solar system as well.
So are they going to actually do high technology stuff?
Yeah. Yes. They're building things that non-terrestrials are coming here to trade for.
Right. Is a significant majority of the workforce that they have for things like the ICC all actually abducted slaves?
They're abducted slaves and people that go and apply for a job. They get a job, they're happy, they go to work, and then become a slave.
But you've also described in other episodes that there are plenty of extraterrestrials who are not going to be local to our solar system, and they are also picking up slaves for a variety of different reasons as well. And we may have no idea what those people are doing.
How this really all turned into such a huge trade is that in the beginning of when we started having contact with non-terrestrials, we were allowing them to abduct humans and take humans. And there were so many humans that were never coming back. So the very morally bankrupt people in this cabal decided, wait a minute, if we can hold off the non-terrestrials, we can trade these people for technology.
What is the estimate, or if there's a sliding scale of estimates, as to how many people per year are being brought into this?
Well, I remember the statistic for worldwide disappearances is like 1 million people.
And if that's happening every year, it could be very sizable.
Yes, it's millions of people have been taken off this planet.
So we could literally be talking about many millions of people who have been brought off this planet into this world in various ways.
Yes, that are being brought into the slave trade. And then you also have to remember that the people we were just talking about that lived on these, that are slaves on these Mars facilities, they, over the decades, began to have children. And these children are born into slavery. So it's generations of slaves are up there.
And Tompkins corroborated a lot of things that you've said very precisely, including this idea of like a brain drain or different echelons, different tiers of people being brought in.
This is one of the biggest topics that the cabal doesn't want anyone to know about. This is one of the things, if we have full disclosure and people find out about all these crimes against humanity, it's going to be a crazy day on planet Earth.
Well, let's say that happens. What is the carrot that we have to look forward to with all this? Is disclosing it actually going to stop it? I mean, aren't we turning our backs on these people if we don't talk about it?
Very, very much so. And a lot of people that have been involved or have firsthand knowledge of this don't want to talk about it because of the huge amount of shame involved. You know, they have sociopaths that are doing a lot of this work, so, you know, they don't lose any sleep. But other people like myself that get drug into it, we're tortured inside of us. We're tortured for the rest of our lives.
I'm sure. One of the things that obviously we don't want to get too specific about it, but something that we haven't mentioned before is the idea that there is a sex trade going on. Mm-hmm. What do you think is the purpose behind a sex trade and slavery in that sense? What's the objective here?
For these humans serving in the darker side of these secret space programs, and for non-terrestrials to be able to have sex. I mean, they like to dominate, and that's a big turn on for these sociopaths. Hmm. So, I mean, it's, I guess, the oldest story in the world when it comes to talking about sex.
So this is very similar to the kind of sex trafficking that we've heard about on Earth, where somebody could get brought into this world, and for whatever reason, they will work as a prostitute, even though maybe they could escape. They're not going to really try to escape because they're kept under such tight control. Yeah,
there's no escaping. I mean, there's no escaping. If you're on a tin can floating through space, where do you go? If you're on another planetoid, in another solar system, what do you do? I mean, you have no hope.
What have you been told, and I know we covered this before, but I think it's important to give people some sense of hope in this subject. What have you been told is going to occur as we end up freeing ourselves from the control of AI and the Draco and other negative groups? How will that affect what's happening to these people?
A while back, some of the SSP Alliance people, before there was an SSP Alliance, they were just people that were acting on their own volition or in small groups, began tagging people that were going off-world into the slave trade. And we've had some of these non-terrestrial groups that we work with go and retrieve them and take them for healing. So after all of this comes, all of the AI is gone, we've had, disclosure, people have had a chance to acclimate to disclosure a little bit. A lot of these people that were in these different types of slave trades that have been rescued and are now in another star system going through healing will be allowed to rejoin us. And I know that's something, you know, I talk about this topic, and it is entertainment for a lot of people. But there are people that watch this show that have had loved ones disappear, and I hear from them. And so, I mean, this topic is very real, and it is the most serious topic in disclosure.
It's possible that maybe some of the people watching the show, if they lost a loved one, not everybody is necessarily going to end up in something bad.
Right, and these slaves are not always treated that horribly by different species. Some of these species respect what humans can do, and when it comes to the engineering, manufacturing, and our abilities, our innate abilities. So some of these groups that take humans, they take them and they take them off planet and treat them very well. If you think about shows where you hear of people having a maid that lives with them, or that. So it's not all total doom and gloom. It's happening against their will, which is bad enough. But not everybody is, getting eaten or being a part of a sex trade.
Sure.
They really look for the most intelligent and gifted people on the planet. And they will either take them or one of their family members who have the same traits if they're too public.